I don't think I've ever heard that song.
You've definitely heard it, bro.
Probably, I just don't remember it at all.
Bro, that's a classic.
Everybody in here was vibing, and I was just like, what is happening?
Bro, that's such a good song, man. Shout out to MC Magic. Bops. Middle school Rudy, man.
Shouts out to that guy.
It was actually a terrible time in my life. But,
was it? Tell me more.
No.
Why not?
Well, that wasn't a terrible time, but...
What was so bad about it?
It was just,
Little Shawty dumped you, and you were like, you dedicated that song to a Shawty. I
definitely didn't have a girlfriend when I was
and she said no.
But I definitely, like, it was me and, like, 2 other friends. We definitely memorized all these songs.
It's kind of sus.
This was, like, simping in, like, middle school. Those were sad boy songs.
You were romantic Rudy from the jump, dude.
Bro, I was just ready to sing to somebody, bro.
Apparently, you was trying to give that heart to somebody, and then look what happened.
And I still am.
Are you?
Yes.
Did you talk to your therapist?
All right, guys. Well, welcome back. Thank you so much for listening today and to the previous episodes if you've listened to those. Today we have kind of, I think, another topic that is extremely important to the idea of what we're discussing in general when it comes to the podcast, right? We have a discussion about language.
Idiomas.
Ooh. I like that.
Yeah?
I did.
What language are we speaking on? We're speaking on Japanese today?
I was going to make that joke. Damn it. Well, so I think when it comes to culture, right, language is one of the biggest components, if not probably the biggest component of that, right? Like, it's a pillar of, you know, I guess your identity when it comes to culture, right?
I think that's a safe thing to say.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we definitely understand that it's impossible to, you know, talk about everything that kind of fits underneath that umbrella. So I think we're going to try to focus today more on, like, Spanish and that dynamic that we've seen, I guess, for our, like, in our own lives, right? Like, kind of growing up, like, we're both not native Spanish speakers, but I guess it was kind of the first language we really learned in our household, right? Like,
definitely,
both of your parents speak Spanish to each other, and I'm sure when you were a baby, that was the circumstance. But then we both had the same experience of when we went to school. English was predominantly the language that we started to, like, I guess, become educated in. Mm-hmm. And so I think we're just going to spend some time kind of discussing what that looks like, and then our relationship with Spanish, and then some of the intricacies, and have some fun with it as well, right? But yeah, like, there'll be, I think, more on this topic in the future, but hopefully today we kind of at least get to, you know, dip our toe in that water and kind of see what we're talking about.
Test the waters a little bit.
Yeah, test the waters for sure.
Kind of cold.
Yeah.
So what do we start with? What's up? You obviously started speaking Spanish, right? Did you learn English? Do you remember when you learned English? Like, was it when you started school, like kindergarten, first grade, before that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I have a concrete memory of whether or not I remember speaking Spanish as a I guess kid, right? Like, as a baby. I don't know when you stop being a baby. What's that age? Like 2?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. But I don't have any memories, right? Like, me speaking Spanish. I have memories of me speaking English. I think most of my memories growing up come from, like, when I was in school. I don't have a lot of memories at home. Like, I guess I remember things, but I guess, like, speaking Spanish isn't actively one of those. But I definitely know that was the first thing. Because, like, my mom didn't speak any English.
Do you? Maybe you learned English. Who knows?
How?
I don't know.
Maybe with the TV.
Yeah.
Hey, TV is such an important part of, like, growing up, like, in a household where your parents speak Spanish. Like, that's kind of your first teacher.
Yeah, I think we'll get to that.
Yeah, for sure. No, but I mean, like, for myself, I think my relationship with Spanish has one that's kind of been up and down, right? Like, it was the first language I learned, but then English kind of became my dominant language once I got into school, and my parents decided to, like, you know, kind of say, hey, like, we need to fix this.
When you start to lose a little bit of Spanish, right?
Definitely. And even now, like, my Spanish isn't perfect, but I feel like
your Spanish is trash.
All right, thanks.
You suck. Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
I think I can get by. And you know what's it's crazy because it's a muscle. You have to use it, right? If you don't actively use, you know, Spanish or any language for that circumstance, right? You will slowly but surely start to lose it. And so, and you'll get better at it the more and more you use it. I remember the last trip I made to Mexico, at the beginning of the trip, I always kind of hesitate and I'm a little nervous, like, you know, having conversations with family and strangers. And and anybody where, you know, that's the predominant language. But by the end of that trip, man, I was walking around like, you know, like, shoot.
¿Qué ole, güey? ¿Cómo estás?
Bro, shoot. Man, hey, you know what's so funny? My, like I said, when I started to get around maybe like 8 or 9 years old, my parents were like, hey, like his Spanish isn't, you know, the best anymore. Especially because a lot of my friends.
They were snitching?
I mean, they knew that, you know, like I just, it wasn't great, you know? And so, especially because a lot of my friends weren't like, I guess, like Mexican. I wasn't speaking that much Spanish at school either amongst my friends. And so they shipped me off for 3 months at a time. Like my dad, like once school went out, me and him would drive down and I would stay with my abuelita and he would come back the week before school started again and pick me up. I'd be there for about 3 months.
Yeah, I think you said this in a previous episode.
Yeah, and when I came back, man, I came back speaking some like really, you know.
Came back as Rodolfo.
Yeah, bro, definitely. I was definitely Rodolfo when I came back. You know, I was saying all the little slang words that the little kids on like the basketball court
Which BT Dubs, is that where your name?
Copia barata de 20 centavos. Like,
whoa.
Yeah, bro, I was in here, you know.
Is that where your name comes from? Like, because Rudy's not a very Mexican name. Do you know?
I know that that's where it originates from in regards to just the name itself. But you don't know what if your parents picked myself, I don't think so.
Okay. They were just like, Rudy. That's a great name.
I think they knew that, like, Rodolfo, like, Rudy is Rodolfo. And so, because my mom calls me that, right? Like, whenever I'm in trouble, like, you know, well, obviously not now, but...
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Rodolfo Arce.
No, yeah. When I was a kid, right? Like, Rodolfo, like, you know, that's, you know, what I would be called. Especially because I don't have a middle name. Which a lot of, I think, people from Mexico don't have a middle name.
Oh, I don't know. I do, but...
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I was just asking because we're talking about the language and it's a little bit of a detour, but I just thought it's interesting that, like, yeah, I mean, neither of us have Mexican names. I think a part of it was
to kind of make it seem like my name was not as Spanish, right? Like Rudy is an American. Mm-hmm. It sounds like, you know, because you're right. It doesn't sound Spanish all that much like Rudy. Like Rudy is more prevalent in American culture than it is in Spanish, right? You have the movie that all my coaches would always go. Rudy. Yeah, bro. Yeah, I'm live. And there's actually like a couple other characters in American culture with that name. But no, yeah, much the same. Like or much like to what I was saying. My relationship with Spanish has kind of been up and down. But I think one thing that I very much appreciate, I guess, knowing that I learned the language and that I have a pretty good grasp on it, because I think one of the hardest parts about being sometimes, you know, a second generation, you know, Latino American is it's very easy to lose it.
Yeah, but it's I mean, you just become assimilated. We said that word a lot comes up a lot, but it just happens naturally because you're just immersed, right? You're living absolutely. Here in America and you're interacting.
My dominant language is now English.
Yeah. And
so I would imagine, right? Like I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but if I marry someone who, even if they are also fluent in Spanish.
We got anybody on the horizon?
Okay, so right again, I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but if and when I do get married to someone, and let's assume that they do speak Spanish at least fluently, but English is also their dominant language, we'll probably be speaking in English. Mm-hmm. And so therefore right now kind of transitioning to our kids would be very difficult. Like you have to more consciously make the effort, because my parents didn't make the effort.
Yeah, Rudina and Rudy Jr. might not be speaking Spanish if that's the case.
You have to go out of your way, mm-hmm. right, to make sure that you teach your kids. Like I'm gonna have to go out of my way to make sure that, like, hey, I need to teach my kids Spanish if I want them to, right?
You know how you do that?
How?
Send them with los abuelos.
Hey, bro, no cap. Hey, I'm ready.
Yep.
I got babysitters on deck.
That's how that's done.
Yep, abuelos and abuelos. Hey, but even then, it's hard because while it's a muscle, like I said, right? Like you can spend 1 or 2 years, like, you know, being babysat by your abuelito or your abuelita. But if at home, right, after they turn 3 or 4 years old, right, they stop being babysat all that much, it's used less and less. Again, like it's difficult, and I think that's one thing that I think is important to start addressing, is we have to really start to, or I guess the better way to say is we have to stop attacking people for not knowing Spanish, and I guess really seek to understand like why, you know, they don't. because I think now that I have seen it, or I guess now that I'm older, I'm more understanding of it, right? Because I understand, like, if I have kids, I'm going to have to go out of my way to teach them this language. Or not go out of my way, right? But, like, make the effort to teach them this language. So,
yeah. Yeah, no, yeah, you're right. Because for example, my girlfriend does not speak Spanish. We've spoken on this before. And I think initially when we first started kind of talking and that was discovered, and usually this happens a lot, right? Like anytime you find out somebody doesn't speak Spanish, you're like, you don't speak Spanish?
yeah.
What the fuck?
You judge.
Yeah.
I judged.
Yeah.
I know I did for a long time. Right? Like, especially if they look like they do.
How dare you? You're so brown.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you not speak Spanish?
Are you traitor? Or I don't know what I would say. Con el nopal en la frente, right? Like.
Yeah. But there is always unique circumstances to everybody's upbringing, right? And how can we judge when we're kind of the closest thing, right? Again, second generation, parents only speak Spanish, grew up in bubble type stuff, right? And we already have lost a good chunk of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And let alone someone who's 3, 4, 5 generations, whose moms, whose grandparents, whose whatever, were also born here, but they're still of Latin heritage. I mean, you know, how can you judge someone like that, right? Like, I mean, it's hard to keep those kind of.
I think that's kind of where I really want to focus today's conversation is while language is very powerful and it's an essential part of our culture, we have to stop using it as I guess a measuring tape for how Latino you are, right? Like, it can definitely be a great example of like, oh, like, you know, like this guy's very, you know, whatever, but it doesn't completely define, you know, that part of their cultural identity, right? If they don't speak it, because there's a way to embrace your culture without, I guess, having to speak Spanish. And I think that's just something that I've learned a lot, and I've had to kind of make sure that I'm making the conscious effort to not be like so quick to judge. And I think it started happening now that I have nephews, and a goddaughter who it's going to be difficult. And I'm going to keep using that example, right? Because a lot of the times now that I think back on it, most of the people that looked like me and you but didn't speak Spanish were typically second or third generation. And so it just makes sense. And then I think another aspect that I do also want to discuss is the reasons as to why our parents were maybe sometimes hesitant to embrace speaking Spanish.
What do you mean by that? Or continue. Expound.
Is it expound? Is that a word?
Yes.
English is weird.
I don't know.
But okay, so yeah.
English is my second language.
No, let me expand. So I guess in conversations that I've had with some people as to like, hey, like, why do you think your parents didn't make more of an effort to teach you Spanish?
Okay.
It's been like, well, we were here at a time when they came here, right? They definitely didn't try to make themselves seem more Latino than they were, right? So like they would try to like speak English as opposed to speak Spanish, right? So they preferred their kids to learn English so like their kids didn't have an accent, right? They didn't want their kids to walk around like with almost a target on their back, right? Because it's different times. I think now we can be much more comfortable with just being who we are, right? Like if you have a problem with like me looking the way that I look and like, you know, like me being Mexican American, you know, for anybody else, like being like a Latino, we can challenge that, I think, a little bit more than I think our parents felt comfortable doing in the past.
Yeah, I can tell you to fuck off.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be like, fuck you.
Yeah. Fuck off.
But like our parents were more concerned about like our safety, right? And then of course, if they weren't, you know, documented, right, like kind of raising flags, like they hesitated to really embrace it sometimes, and it was more out of caution.
Yeah, that's a super good point. I don't think I've really ever thought of it that way. Maybe once or twice, but because there's definitely members in my family who kind of, I would say, adopted that, right? Like the mom and dad, they speak Spanish and they don't even speak English too well, but they've learned it enough to where it's what they speak. And their kid doesn't really speak Spanish, right? And I was just like, I would always think, why? Like you think now because like you have the context of now, like you said, now we can challenge it. Now it's more accepted. Now we can walk around proudly saying, you know, we're Latinos, we're Latin. But that wasn't always the case.
Yeah, now it's a benefit, absolutely, right?
Yeah.
Like throw that on the resume, like, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. That's kind of what I'm saying. The way we view things and maybe the way we judge is also because of just our context that we've got, right?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
if anything, speaking two languages is a plus, right?
Yeah.
Like Spanish,
And
English,
it is.
whatever.
I think in general it is, right? But no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. That's was my conclusion. There is that there's different contexts, right? Again, it's a circumstance, right?
Yeah.
And you don't always know the circumstance. So before jumping to a judgment of like, dude, why? Like you have to try to make that understand that person's circumstance and their reasoning. And I mean, it might be wrong, it might be right, but that's just kind of the result, right? The result of everybody's own unique circumstances.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, and there's a lot of different doors that we can open here, and we're gonna try and stay focused. We'll have to open some of, we'll have to dip our toe a little bit into like just English and stuff like that. But
how well do you think you speak? I said it earlier, but I was joking. How well would you say you speak Spanish? Like
on a scale of 1 to 10,
yeah,
I'd give myself
10 being like fluent as Spanish. Like if you actually lived in Mexico. And they just...
But see, even then, right? Then I haven't really put it in that perspective for myself before until recently. But I'll use English as an example. There are people that were raised speaking English in the United States, and that exists on a spectrum as well, right? There's people that speak terrible English, right? They have terrible grammar. They have terrible... they put together sentences horribly. Right?
I mean, education factors into it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then there's also that same spectrum that exists in Mexico.
Yeah.
So I use this example, or I've made the same point before, right? Like where my family comes from, I think it's a little bit, our Spanish is a little bit more rough around the edges, and it's not as proper and as clean. But in regards to like, if I were to go back to where I guess my parents are from, I'd feel like I'm a solid 7.
Okay, that's a high score.
I pass.
A 7?
I pass, right?
Yes, with a C?
Yeah,
C.
A siete.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that's how they grade, at least in Mexico?
Yeah, numbers?
De 1 a 10?
Yeah. I definitely knew
have
that.
a siete.
Siete. I thought you said siete. Like, I was like, what the fuck did you just say?
No.
I didn't hear you.
No, yeah. I think I give myself a 7.
Okay.
What about yourself? You're better than me.
Yeah, I do think I'm kind of...
See, now I'm guessing myself. Maybe a 6.
No, yeah, it's a good... I'm not sure. So I think it's relative, right? It's also relative, like we just said. If I compare it to like most other Chicano or Latin Americans that I've met, I think I'm pretty high, to be honest. Like,
so what is 0? Like a 0 is you speak no Spanish?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like literally no
then
Spanish.
I think I'm a solid 6. And then if I were to go to an area where I have to speak a much cleaner, like... No, sorry. I'm going to give myself a 6.5. And then a 5.5 if I have to... I don't know.
All right.
I'm gonna stop answering. Go.
Yeah. So, but I do think I'm relative. Like I speak Spanish relatively well, but that wasn't always the case, right? Like you said, it's kind of like an up and down struggle. Mm-hmm. And I remember, I think maybe middle school was like peak not speaking Spanish time. I think around there is where, because of where I went to school, I spoke on this before. I went to school in Mesquite. It was very predominantly white neighborhood. I started adopting English a lot more. That's where kind of that shift started happening for myself. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until later on. And I think I attributed to actually sports, right? Like for me, whenever I started playing sports with my group of friends that played soccer and stuff, like all they spoke was Spanish. They were like actual Mexicans. They were people
actual
from
Mexicans.
Well, they were born in Mexico.
They're not fake like you.
No, yeah, they're not off-brand Mexicans like myself. They were born in Mexico. They moved here, and so they spoke Spanish. And it was when I started hanging around with that group of friends. So again, it's the circumstance, right?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
the environment.
Because if you didn't, right? If you happen to have played golf, right, or
with Trevor.
Yeah, with fucking Brad and his friends
and Logan, I might have.
Yeah, who knows? You might have been.
What up, dude?
Yeah, exactly.
But no, yeah. So when I started hanging out with them, their names were Tigrillo and Marcelo and Pancho. My boys, shout out. And all they spoke was Spanish, right? And like on the field, that's all you speak. And so there's just kind of...
It helps. Again, it's a muscle. You're using it. Mm-hmm. So it's...
And so I think that was a
important.
big factor as to why I think my Spanish is as good as it is. Now, that being said, obviously, I know my Spanish isn't... I still speak a lot. And there's a lot of situations where like my dad or my mom's like, that's not how you say that. And I'm like, My bad.
Yeah, no, and I think that's another part is and the reason I'm struggling to give myself a grade is because,
I've never said a yo no sabo.
Yeah, me neither.
So I'm past that.
Or embarazado.
Or patras.
I think I might have said that. Is that not a thing?
I mean, well, like, so I'll
para-
well, my girl's sister,
Uh-huh.
right? She doesn't speak Spanish, like,
Okay.
at all. And so she asked how.
Oh, yeah.
how
Tell
you
the story.
say-
This is a funny story.
So she's, she just, I don't know who they're with, but she asks, like, how do you say back, right? And everybody resounding, patras, 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 right?
Yeah,
That's how you say
'cause
back.
you go back, yeah.
That's how you say to go back, right? She goes, my patras hurts. Needless to say, I think
it happens, you know.
Yeah, she learned.
It's innocent.
It was
right?
a learning experience
It's
for everybody.
innocent. And that's the thing, right? Like we laugh, and we're not trying to like be mean about it.
No. But it's funny.
Yeah, you gotta laugh at
It's still
yourself
funny.
sometimes.
Yeah,
right? But I think before, right, the difference was I used to be a little bit more. Not only would I laugh, but I would judge as well, and I try not to judge now.
Just stupido.
Yeah, I know, like pendejos, like right, like you're mean about it, and I think that's important. And you know what's interesting is that's also something that I think we inherit from our parents, right, or from like adults, right, who they cast judgment on individuals who don't speak Spanish, right, especially if they do look like you and me. Like I sent you a clip yesterday or the day before on Twitter from what show is that? Do you know what that show is? She's it's like the Mexican Judge Judy or some shit.
Oh yeah. Ah, dude, it's gonna piss. Loud.
Caso Cerrado.
Caso Cerrado.
Yeah. And like this little girl walks in, right, and she introduces herself in English.
That's my shit.
I don't know what her name is, right, but she starts saying, no. Aquí no se habla inglés. Blah, 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 blah. And the girl is actively saying, I'm not comfortable speaking Spanish right now.
I don't want to.
And I think I've seen people like applaud like the lady of the host of the show saying like, yeah, good for you for not, letting this, this girl not speak Spanish.
Who, for the record, spoke like perfect Spanish.
Yeah, she spelled like her Spanish was pretty okay. But maybe she was in circumstances like me, right? Where like I sound pretty okay when I'm saying the words that I know how to say. But if I'm depending upon the setting, I could definitely be intimidated. And
you're not a very intimidating person, Rudy.
Hey man, fuck you.
Yeah, I don't know who would be intimidated by you.
Okay, all right, catch me in the streets. But no, my point, right, is we shouldn't. I don't think we should applaud that behavior because I think it's a dangerous like line to toe, right? Because if that girl didn't feel comfortable speaking it, I think you should more ask why, and I guess try to like make the effort to make her comfortable. Saying like, hey, I'm not gonna judge you if you don't speak the best Spanish, but I prefer you to do it in this setting. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the context of that clip, so I don't know what the fuck that episode was at. But yes,
it was very aggressive, and I think sometimes we see that in parents and in adults kind of look down upon people who don't speak Spanish.
Yeah, if it's a situation where the person just isn't comfortable with the Spanish, right? I mean, if anything, you should try to like help, right? Like, instead of coming from a place of judgment, come from like, with the goal of helping them, right? If that's what they desire, I suppose. Yeah. But what else we got? What are we on?
No, yeah, I mean, it's.
I thought we were making the shift. I thought you were looking at the list like we were on.
No.
My bad.
I think the only other point that I kind of want to start to make is when it comes to individuals such as ourselves, and then kind of generations now, kind of moving forward for people in our similar circumstances, is we have to embrace the idea that, or I guess really think about the idea that language is man-made, and so therefore it's a fluid concept, I think, right? Like we add words to the dictionary all the time.
Dropping all the philosophical content right here.
I got you, bro.
All right, Mr. Sociologist.
No, and so like there's this whole like thread of Spanglish, right? Like that's a subset of Latino American culture, and it's very different in different parts of the world, right? Like in California, like their Spanglish is different than what it is in Texas.
And you know what's interesting a little bit is that it even permeated into Mexico itself, I think.
Exactly.
Like if you English has made its way down there, right? You see it in some of the words they say.
Yeah.
We were talking about them before here. Like how do you say to park a lot of people will say it properly, but maybe
Estacionar, pero like the people will say parquear.
yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's just important, like we are still like, even though we're living here, right? Like our identity kind of, our roots are scattered in both areas, and so we'll see, right, things start to bloom.
Ooh, scattered roots. You like
that? I should be a rapper. But we'll see things start to bloom on both sides of in this circumstance the river, right? Like we influence that culture as well, right? It's not just one directional where we're just kind of taking all the culture from that side of the border this way. And so I think we do need to embrace this new kind of dynamic that we have, and not be so like shy about it. But yeah, I think Spanish is such an interesting like concept because it exists very differently in different parts of like the United States, like I was saying earlier, like California, Texas, Florida, New York, and a lot of it has to do with the demographic that you see in each parts of like this country or of the country, right? Which kind of leads us to the transition that we're gonna make just about Spanish is weird.
Yeah.
And it's not in any way, shape, or form the same anywhere.
I mean, dialects, right? It's weird for sure. I don't know. It's interesting if you were to think about like the origin. I don't think it's something we thought about when we were planning this, but why some words are so different and sound so different and mean the same thing across different countries.
Do you have anything to mention about that?
Not really, because I didn't look it up either. But it's an interesting thing to think about. Maybe something we can do after this. But I'm sure you've got a list over there.
I have a list of like of words that are not the same. But before we dive into those, I guess now, looking at where it comes from, Spain, right? Like when you were in school, did you take Spanish?
Because it was an easy A in high school once. Which also, by the way, going back to kind of like the whole thing where like we don't speak the best of Spanish, I almost failed that AP exam because I didn't know where any accent marks went.
Oh yeah,
like I knew how to speak it, but writing it.
That's actually another part that I was gonna bring up earlier. Sorry, before we transition into the funnier words in XYZ. Yeah, writing. Like Spanish is like
ortografía
language is multidimensional in the fact that like right there's speaking it, there's writing it, there's reading it. I can only speak it, right? I can read it slowly, right?
You get to sound it out,
bro.
Like in third grade,
bro. Like if I ever get like asked to have to read like a Bible verse at church, like at the altar, dog, I'm just gonna act like
that's a different Spanish too. They got some words. Misericordia, I don't know what that word means.
Bro, I'm gonna act like I had a stroke. I'm just gonna pass out.
That's a whole
I got a espiritu, dog. He just came through me. I'm gonna.
He's speaking in tongue. He's speaking in tongue. That's what it is.
Exactly. No, but like reading it and writing it is another dimension of the language that. Again, I can't write it for sure.
Give yourself a score on that, like a 2.
Oh, dude, 3, 2. Yeah, 3 is probably too high. Yeah, the 2. Reading it, I would give myself like a 4. Right, I could read it slowly. There'd definitely be words that I would mispronounce, and then I'd be like, "That's not that word," and then I would have to use the context of the other words around it to say like, "Oh, this is this word."
Some would argue that's great reading skills.
Hey, deductive reasoning. Bro.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, but
talk your shit.
But what about yourself? Do you think you can read and write Spanish fairly?
No, so I also can't write for shit. I mean, no. It's Spanish writing is a little bit easier, I would say, just because most of the words do like they're spelled just how they sound, kind of. But the accent marks, like for sure, I have no idea where anything goes, like at all.
Yeah, me neither. And it's crazy because
Papa and Papa is the same shit. I don't know where where it goes.
It's about the same.
So, and reading it, I would say I'm okay, but same as you. It's like I'd have to kind of go a lot slower and also mispronounce words.
And it's interesting because
I'm in the same boat as you.
I use like friends that I went to high school with as an example because I didn't take those Spanish classes. Right, I was like, I'm gonna challenge myself. I'm gonna take French. Shall we?
Fucking dweeb.
Yeah, bro. Like I know,
just trying to get an easy A. Just trying to like.
I know like 3 phrases in French, and that's about it. Like,
see how well that worked out for you?
It didn't. But I know like friends that were, just white or black or whatever. Like they Spanish wasn't something that they actively spoke, but they could write it better than I could.
Yeah.
Like they would come ask me like how to like say these things, but they could write it better. So then again, that takes me back to my point originally that we have to stop using it as a measure of
Because they're not more Latin than you are.
Exactly, right? Like they're not more Mexican or Colombian or Honduran or Salvadoran than I am because they know how to write it better than I am. So like we have to stop using it as a measuring tape against people when it only like benefits us, right?
Yep.
Like when only we can use it when we're standing on our high horse. But yeah, no, I want to come back to that. Where were we going before that?
The words, right? Like the different meanings of the words.
Yeah. Okay. Oh no, I was gonna ask you. Sorry. When you were taking
Well,
Spanish,
all over the place today, boys. hope you're.
Yeah, enjoy the ride. This is gonna be a bumpy one. No, but when you were learning that Spanish, how weird was it seeing like vos and nos and
Yeah, vos was always the weird one.
yeah,
for
that was
sure,
one that stood out, bro. I don't like.
So I know.
What is that? Catalonian or how do you say? What?
Catalan? Yeah.
Catalan?
Yeah, Español. I don't know how you say it.
Castellano?
Ooh, yeah, I think that might be.
Is that it?
I don't know. That all kind of sounds sexy.
I don't know. We're getting whispers in the back. Someone whisper louder.
You got the laptop right there, man. Look it up.
Yeah, no, my Wi-Fi's down.
All of the above. Yeah, those are weird. But I think so I know vos is used by like certain Central American countries though. So like I know like my grandma on my mother's side, so my Guatemalan grandma would use it. And I always thought it was weird, right? But in Mexico, we both know like that shit's not used at all in Mexico. So
I think Spanish is a love language, but that's not the one to speak if you're going to try to sound sexy.
Vos and vosotros?
Yeah, both.
I don't know. But yeah, that was... Well,
Spaniards? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, that shit was weird for sure. I don't use those.
No, yeah, we're opening that door to kind of just talk about how weird Spanish is as a language in general, and it is because it expands like such a huge geographical area, right? You can't help but the languages that existed in those different countries to influence their own dialect now. So I think one of the easiest examples that we always use is the word straw.
Popote.
Popote is what country says popote?
Mexico. That's how I say it.
Yeah, that's the correct way.
Oh, we probably don't do that. Let's not do that. I don't think there is any correct way.
I do.
But how does...
No, I'm just playing. Yeah. So I have a list here. So popote, right? Yeah, that's the Mexican way of saying it. All right, let me see if you know these. Come
on,
sorbeto.
Sorbeto. Like sorbet? Like that's like
yeah.
a rainbow sherbet, which by the way I'm hungry.
Sorbet, yeah.
So that would hit the spot right now. But sorbeto, who the heck says that? Because I don't know. I don't remember these.
Boricuas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sorbeto. Interesting.
Watch me be wrong.
Where the fuck the sorbeto it doesn't even...
I don't know. Okay, but here's another one. Sorbete.
It's the same. I don't know. Okay.
Shit is different. I mean, it's on the list.
So who's... Is that the Dominicans? They're next to each other.
Argentinos and Ecuadorians.
Okay. Che.
Yeah, right. Like it's weird, but they're similar. Like in Puerto, like they're not. I don't know. I guess I would have to look into how that word like spread, right? But okay. Cañita. I'm probably saying this all the way wrong.
It's like sugar cane, like caña. Cañita.
It sounds like right.
Caña.
Cañita or canita. I don't know, dude.
That's weird. I know there's...
That's Peru.
Okay.
Okay.
I know there's one that calls it a dick. So who calls straws dicks? Because I want to talk to those guys.
Yeah, fucking weirdos.
So that's one of them, right?
Yeah, could you imagine? Like, I know it's had to happen at a restaurant where, like, you know, one of them like asked like a server that's Mexican, and they'd be like, ¿me puedes dar un pitillo?
Whoa!
And then the server's like, "What's up? What's up?"
I mean, I get off in about 10, so you just meet me around back.
Do you know who's next pitillo?
Nah, I have no. That's what I'm asking. Who?
Our lovely and beautiful Colombians.
Hey, shout out to the Colombians.
And
that's
Venezuelans.
Weird. Okay.
And Venezuelans.
That one is
both
weird.
Beautiful countries with beautiful people.
I want to go.
Me too. That's actually really one of the places I want to go next.
Colombia?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be dope. But that's hilarious. Like that one is funny.
Maybe my wife's Colombian. Maybe. Who knows?
Well, I feel like with every episode we're like narrowing the pool.
I need to go to New York. So there's just a lot of... I think there's the more diverse pool of Latinos there.
So that...
Just so I can, like, you know, learn more.
So you know what you like?
No, I mean... I'm trying to find out.
That's what I'm saying. So
You know
you
what I'm saying?
learn.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I meant to say.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, okay, that was Pitillo. The next one is pajita.
Pajita. Pajita. Pajita.
This one's a
Is
long
that
list. You should get at least one country.
Chile?
No.
Fuck. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
This is, I guess there's a lot of Central American countries. Pajilla.
You see, you never pronounce it right. Read. See, there goes your reading
I
skills.
can't read. I told you.
We're docking you a point. You're like
All
at
right,
a 2.
Damn it. Upon further review.
Pajilla. Okay, pajilla.
Pajilla. What did I say?
Pajita.
No, that is a thing.
Rudy, read your list.
Okay, sorry. Okay, okay. So, pajilla is Costa Rica, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Guatemala.
Todo Centroamérica.
Todo Centroamérica.
Almost.
And then pajita. Sorry, I was looking. I confused myself. Sorry, I'm dyslexic. Argentina, Chile, Uruguay, and Spain.
¿Se pajita?
Hey, Uruguay also speaks like has a weird like.
They are. I mean, a lot of them do. Argentina does too.
Uruguayo.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, you know, hey.
They're Lithby boys.
Yeah, exactly.
Lithby.
Oh, dweebs.
Yeah, fucking dweebs. I'm just kidding. They're not dweebs.
Yeah, I'm just like, here's me like making fun of people.
It's like the second time you speak on Uruguayans, bro.
I love all of you Latin American countries and your languages.
We're about
dialects.
to be like canceled in Uruguay.
Okay, next one. Let's get through all these.
No one's listening to us in Uruguay, by the way.
Yeah, no, we have no listeners. Bombilla.
Bombilla. That's like a pump.
Yeah, no,
that's what I know that to be, a pump. But that makes sense. See, at least that makes sense.
Why?
Like you're kind of moving liquid from one place to another. That's what a
air.
pump do.
A pump.
You can pump liquid.
I guess you pump water. Yeah.
I don't know. Who haven't we guessed yet?
You guessed this earlier and you were wrong.
Chile.
And Bolivia.
Okay.
Okay, and then we have un calimente.
Calimente. See that one. Where does that come from? I don't know. Dominicanos? Really? Interesting. Would have never guessed.
I kind of jumped up and down and around this list, so I thought absorbente.
Oh, I know that one.
Who's that?
Cuba.
Yes, sir. Good job.
Absorbance.
Gold star for Kevin.
Yay.
Yeah, so no, like as you can see, right? Like it's very different.
And those words are like, some of them are similar, some of them are not.
You can see like where some of the similarities come from, right? And I guess we would maybe have to trace it down to probably two things, right? Like the native groups that existed in these regions.
And the colonizers.
And the white man that came in and destroyed it all.
Yup.
And spread germs.
Diseases
and dialects. And, you know, shout out to them. But yeah, I had another one for popcorn because that one was really weird too. Do you want to give a couple others a try?
I guess we should just do.
I'll do some quick
couple.
ones.
Just
yeah.
do a couple. Yeah.
So in Uruguay.
Well, how do you say popcorn in Mexico?
I don't know.
You don't know how to say popcorn in Spanish? Like in Spanish?
I just say popcorn at the house.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
You
say popcorn.
I'm docking you another point. What did you say earlier? You said a 6 or 5 when speaking Spanish. You're like at a 4 now.
I mean, bro, hey, that's Spanglish, bro.
Palomitas.
Oh yeah. Tenemos palomitas. Yeah. I knew that.
All right.
Give my point back.
All right, I got you.
Okay, so in Argentina, it's I don't know how to say this. Pochoclo.
All right, what's next? You butchered that one.
In Chile, it's cabritas de maíz.
Cabritas. That's like a goat.
Yeah, I know. And I think cabritas is like kid in Chile, I think. Something like that. No? I don't know.
I think that's what that lady said.
We're
watching a video.
Yeah, I was doing research earlier. YouTube is my friend.
It was a kid in some South American country.
In Panama, it's Milo or Millo.
How do you spell it?
I don't know if there's an accent. Millo. I don't know.
Millo. That would be Millo.
But I don't know if there was like a... I don't know. Which to me makes no sense. I don't know. In Ecuador, it's
Cangrejo. It's a shrimp.
Yeah, no, yeah.
A crab.
Makes no sense.
A crab.
Canguil.
It's one of them. Lobster. I don't know.
Okay. And then, this was also used in Mexico, but in Colombia. Do you know what it is? Crispetas.
Who the fuck in Mexico says crispetas?
I don't know, dude.
That's weird.
The dudes with Colombian wives.
I feel like I'm trying to remember how to say it in Guatemala because I feel like there's something that I know from my mother. Poropo, some shit like that.
I think that was one. Pororo?
I don't know.
Pororo was Uruguay, I think.
Oh, I don't know.
I just skipped it because I didn't know how to say it.
And we've spoken enough about the Uruguayos today.
Yeah, Uruguayos. And then in Brazil, it's pipoca. Which I think, I think it sounds like the way popcorn pops. Pipoca.
Oh, that's cool. I like the good of it that way.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm just making shit up. Okay, yeah. So another I guess we're just giving examples of how Spanish is something that is an interesting topic to look at. But okay, there's another.
There's another like more funnier kind of like more potentially kind of like the dick one earlier.
So
those are a bit more interesting.
Yeah. Coger.
Oh right.
If you are,
you know what? Not right now. We're busy.
Oh my bad.
We're busy recording.
After we're done. Yeah, sorry.
We'll talk about it after.
So if you're talking to a Dominican, it means more agarrar, like to grab.
I think in a lot of places, like I know for sure in Spain.
Oh really?
Mm-hmm.
Coger is to.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, interesting.
I watch a lot of Casa de Papel. They use it a lot in there.
I started that show.
Watch what you're about to say carefully.
And I guess I didn't grasp it the way I think other people.
You lack the intelligence.
Maybe.
But it's fine.
The accent was hard for me to listen to.
But it's fine. So coger does mean to like grab.
Yeah, to grab.
But the reason why
in Mexico, what is it? Yeah.
Do you know what it is?
We're gonna sound gross.
It means to fuck.
Okay. Bicho.
Bicho.
Mm-hmm. If you're talking to a Salvadorian, you're saying kid.
Oh, okay.
But if you're talking to a Puerto Rican,
what that mean?
It means penis.
Oh, see, that's very dangerous. Can you imagine?
Like, that's a little dangerous.
Que bicho bonito tienes. Whoa.
Que bicho tan chulo.
Tan pequeño.
Oh my god. And then here's another one. Concha.
Concha, that's a delicious pan dulce. It's the best one.
Con un cafecito.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why if you're talking to a Mexican, right? Or it's also a shell, right?
Yeah, I think that's why it's named because it looks like a shell.
Because it looks like a shell, yeah. But if you're talking to an Argentino or someone from Argentina, it is a vagine.
La concha de tu madre.
La concha de tu madre.
Yeah, they say that a lot.
Yeah. Be careful with that one.
Yeah. Don't go down there and ask for a concha.
And then we also have paja.
Paja, I've never heard that word.
Paja is, if you're talking to a Dominican, that means to masturbate.
Ooh, naughty time.
Ooh.
Alone time.
It's dirty. And then if you're talking to an Hondureño, it is bullshit. So I guess they have both bad.
Okay.
Yeah, because that
one's fine.
That one's okay to like get mixed up.
Mm-hmm.
And then pendejo.
Oh, that's a dumbass.
Yep.
Yeah, fucking jackass.
Yeah, add me next time.
I call Rudy that all the time, by the way.
Literally, yeah, asshole. But if you're talking to someone from Argentina, that stands for pubes.
Ew.
Yeah, that's
That's gross. Why did they hit?
Yeah.
Ew, I don't want to talk about that no more. Just move on.
But that was it. That's all I had.
Oh, okay.
The other ones were kind of like boring and not as funny. These were like the dirty funny ones, in my opinion. But no, yeah, man. I mean, I think we've only opened the door to the conversation about language, and we're definitely gonna have more. I think we'll do one that's focused on English, specifically maybe like our parents and like their relationship with English, or individuals who had to really, really learn English. Maybe like people that came here when they were maybe like teenagers, as opposed to like people in our circumstance that they were either born here and came at a very, very young age. Hopefully we'll have that conversation probably in the future. We don't want to have those back to back, but do you have any final remarks about language and our culture and your experience?
No. I'm going to do that every episode. No.
With that being said, I think my biggest takeaway again is language is a pillar in our culture, and it's definitely something that I think can be a beautiful part of experiencing your own culture, right, and embracing it and like learning it and using it as a way to really embrace it, right, and I'm always gonna love it. I love the language, but I think, like I said before, it's important that we start kind of also embracing all aspects of our culture, and that doesn't mean if you don't speak it that you don't belong with us, and that's I think a part of the message today, and that's my biggest takeaway. Yeah, so
let's not judge. Let's just learn together. Exactly, we learned a lot today. We learned how to say straw in a bunch of different countries.
Yeah, exactly. But let's just all learn to love each other. But with that all being said, thank you guys so much for listening.
Muchas gracias.
Yeah, muchas gracias. Stay tuned, and thank you guys. Have a good day.